Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It's been quite some time since our last class. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you enjoy this class. It's going to be our last one for this term, but a new course will start. And the new course will start. It will be a shorter course. You will receive all of the information about it from Gisela. Gisela is the CEO and the owner of Iskola Learning Solutions, and I am one of the teachers. I was one of the first teachers. I think I was the first teacher along with Gisela when she opened the school. So it's a very dear matter to me to be a part of Iskola Learning Solutions. I remember 4 years ago when she started, I remember carrying my whiteboard to a company to teach on behalf of Iskola Learning Solutions, and now everything for the time being will be online, and I took up the challenge. I love being on video. I worked on TV before when I was a young girl for the junior local news for casters who were 15, 16, and I was an anchor girl for the junior local news, and I loved it. I love broadcasting, so this is not a problem for me. So the new courses will be held in a different manner. They will no longer be courses out in the open for everyone to join, because only people who are signed up to the courses will be allowed on these casts. So I will give people private links. Even if I do have a course on YouTube like this, it will be a private video, and only people with their emails already registered to the course, who have paid and who are participants, will be allowed to watch those videos. And something else that will be different is that it will be half and half. 45 minutes of the course will be like this, me giving content, teaching, giving you input, and then the other 45 minutes will be a video conference with all of us together. And in this video conference, everyone will be able to participate. One thing, some people don't like being on video. That's okay. You can just have your video closed and you can speak. Another thing, if you don't have Skype, which is the program I'm most likely going to use, you can follow a link and you can join these sessions as a guest each time without having to create a Skype name. So everyone will be able to participate. I really hope that we do have a course following this one within the next week or so. There will be a date for the course, and it will be a shorter course. It won't be 12 weeks or anything. It will be something more compact between now and the end of May, beginning of June, something like that. It's not going to be a long course. And I really, really hope that people have adapted to how things have been. It has been a difficult time for all of us. I believe this year, 2020, has been filled with so many challenges. But I also believe that we have all learned a lot of lessons from this. And I try to be Pollyanna as usual. I always tell my students the story of my name, a very optimistic little girl who tried to see the good parts of everything that happened to her. And some people ridicule that and say, hey, that's ridiculous. How can you always try to find something good? But it has been a coping mechanism for me for the past 47 years and 9 months, and it has worked. Let's get started. Get your books. If you don't have your books, follow along. What happens here? New Headway 4th edition pre-intermediate students book. Page 30. Eat, drink, and be merry. We're going to start right here. There we go. First of all, let's look at this picture here. I love looking at a picture and having people analyze what's on there to set the mood for what the text is going to be about. So I'm going to ask you to look at this picture and look at these people. What are they doing? If you said they're cooking or making food or they are about to eat, I am with you on that. They look like they're about to eat. And if you look at their choices on their plates, they look like very healthy choices. I'm going to disappear a little bit and change things up a little bit. There we go. So now everybody can see the page. We want to live to be 120. That's quite amazing. I think I talk about it all the time. I talk about this all the time with my students, with my friends, with everyone. I usually say I want to live to be at least 100. Now I'm not so sure that I'm going to make it because the world's kind of crazy right now. But right now I would just be happy to live for as long as I possibly can. But yes, one of my ambitions had been, up until this year, to live to be 100. But these people here, they're going further. They want to live to be 120. Let's take a look at what they're eating. Because part of the reason why they believe they will live to be 100 is because of what they're eating. Let's look at what the guy has there. A mango, a banana, a glass of milk, a glass of water. His plate looks to be filled with fibers and very healthy things. And the woman also has some healthy food in front of her. The bowl is probably filled with, it looks like grapes to me. Could be something else, but it looks like those are grapes. So let's listen and figure out what they're talking about here. I'm going to read for you, and you can accompany. If you can see, let me see, I'm going to try to put a better screenshot of this so you can see better. What I'll do, I'm going to use this phone to take a picture. Sometimes I really love technology. Sometimes not so much, but sometimes I really love it because you can do things immediately. I remember taking pictures and having to wait a long time to see the pictures develop, to see what the pictures were going to look like. Nowadays, you take a picture and boom, you can see what they, and you can even delete a picture where you look like this. Because it's almost like people take a picture too soon and you're not ready. You're like, okay, you can take it now. And then you you show up looking like this. And then you can just delete it and ask them to take a new one. And back in the day, you would take a picture with a camera and you would have to wait a couple weeks to develop the pictures. And then sometime, at least in Brazil, and in the US, I believe in 1989, they already had those 1 hour picture. You had a 1 hour photo places where you could just take a picture, take 24 pictures, and you could easily see your pictures developed quickly. You could go to the mall, go have a sandwich, and in an hour your picture would be ready. But what I'm doing is I'm transferring my picture from the phone. I'm transferring it to my Google Photos. And once they appear in my Google Photos, I'll be able to download them straight on my computer, and I'll be able to open the picture right inside this program that I'm using. For those of you who don't know, this program that I use is called Webcam Max. There it is. I hope you can read. I'm not sure that you can, but I'm going to make it a little bit larger. And maybe you'll be able to see a little bit. We'll see. We'll see. Somebody messaged me, but they can wait. I'm teaching now. This is my sacred time. There we go. So I'm going to read with you. Pay attention to the pronunciation of words. Try to repeat some of the words if you want to. Let's go. An extraordinary ambition. Klaus Bonrich, 33, and his wife Elvira, 28, are a successful young couple. Klaus is a software programmer and Elvira works in a health food shop. In many ways, their life is quite ordinary, but they have an extraordinary ambition. They want to live until they're 120. And they believe they can do this by following an American health plan called the calorie restriction diet. Klaus and Elvira eat a lot of raw food. Raw food. What is that? What is raw food? Does anybody have any examples of raw food? Type in the chat box if you know. I'm going to write a little bit about it. Raw food can also be called uncooked. Uncooked. Everything that's not cooked or fried or baked is raw food. Now when we look at their plates there, we can see that everything that they have there is uncooked. Or so they say. Well, the bread is not cooked, it's baked. But it's still processed in some way. I don't know. I would think that they would only be eating fruit and vegetables and raw fish, I guess. But anyway, so raw food, uncooked food. The calorie restriction diet. So restriction. When you talk about restriction, it has something to do with limiting what you eat. To restrict, to limit. Did I disappear from the screen? I'm going to put myself back on just a minute. This program that I'm using here is called Webcam Max. And I've had this program for about 10, 11 years I've had it. I used this program in 2009, 2010, many years ago, on a website called JTV, Justin TV, and I used to broadcast on there, have my own show. But this program is called Webcam Max. If you're interested, you can purchase it online. And you have all sorts of special effects and interesting things that you can do with it. And I can create some subtitles with it right now. And that's what I'm going to do, so I can give some explanations. Webcam Max. Well, it's a program that I really like to use, and it works for me. Okay, to restrict. To restrict, that's the verb. Restriction is the noun. To restrict is the verb. To limit. To restrict. To limit. So right now there are lots of travel restrictions in Norway. Travel restrictions. So the government has restricted your traveling. So now you can't really go to your cottage in the woods, cottage or cabin, hytte. You can't just go. The government has restricted that, has limited. Actually, it has been more than restricted. It has been forbidden, right? But anyway, to restrict, to limit, å begrense, to restrict, to limit. So here when you talk about a calorie restriction diet, it means that you can't eat as much as you would normally eat. And I think that's the difficulty that everybody has, restricting your calories, especially now when we can't really go out or do anything. A lot of people have said to me, most of my students, they complain that because they're at home all the time, they eat more and they can't really exercise as much. But in this situation here, they restrict their calories. So Klaus and Elvira eat a lot of raw food. They steam some food, but they don't fry, grill, or roast anything. Okay, steam. Have you ever heard of steamed vegetables? Steamed vegetables. All the vapor, instead of frying the vegetables or grilling the vegetables or roasting them, they're just steamed. I'm not a cook. I have not made any real food probably ever in my life. I've made some things like rice. I made a lemon pie in 1994. That was probably one of the biggest regrets of my life, but I'm not a cook. But what I can tell you is that steam, to steam, is when you only cook the food. You don't really cook it, you steam it. Just in the vapor, the warmth, without really cooking it. So they steam some food, but they don't fry, grill, or roast anything. And there are many things they don't eat at all. I don't know if I could do it. How many of you people in this chat box right now have been on a diet before? Have tried to go on a diet? So if you have tried, you know how difficult it is. It is difficult for everybody. Especially those people who eat for pleasure and like to eat things and enjoy their food. Some people don't really care so much about the food. They eat because they have to eat just to survive, but some people eat because they want to enjoy the food. So let's take a look at the questions. The first question, what is their extraordinary ambition? What is their extraordinary ambition? I'm going to write the answer for you. Their extraordinary ambition is to live to be 120. That is their ambition. I would be happy to just live to be 100. Now I'm glad if I live at all. For how long I live, I'll be happy with everything that's going on right now. I'm just happy to be alive for however long I'm able to be alive. Their extraordinary ambition is to live to be 120. So that's question number 1. Their extraordinary ambition. What are their jobs? What are their jobs? If you know the answer, feel free to write in the chat box. People in this group here have been very shy about writing in the chat box. Everybody has handed in homework at one time or another, and I'm very proud of this group for it. But people have been very shy about typing in the chat box, which is, it's okay. As long as you're listening and paying attention, I'm happy. So here I'm going to write the second answer. What are their jobs? He is a software programmer. That's his job. He's a software programmer. He works with data, with computers. He develops programs. He's a software programmer. What does she do? What is her occupation? She works in a health food shop, which is really convenient given the fact that they're focused on eating healthy foods and all of that. So it's a good thing that she works in a health food shop. So she works in a health food shop, and he is a software programmer. Those are their jobs. The last question. What kind of food do they eat? Do they cook any of their food? And the answer is that very last sentence in that paragraph. The very last sentence in the paragraph. Let's see, that's not what I was going to do. That very last. Where it says they steam some food, but they don't fry. They don't fry, they don't grill, they don't roast anything. So what do you think about that? Could you imagine doing the same? Could you do that? Could you live like they live? Can you imagine yourself only eating this type of thing? Frankly, I find it very hard already to try to eat healthy. I think it's really difficult to try to eat healthy, because sometimes you want to eat something that maybe it's not that healthy, but maybe you want to eat some candy, right? You want to eat a little portion of fries. You want to eat something that's not that healthy, but it feels good. So it is very difficult. I think so. And I'm pretty sure that many people feel the same way. Let's move on to page 31. I'm going to put the page on here so that you can see it. On page 31, you have a lot of different edible items. What's an edible item? Let me write this word down because it is worth learning. An edible item is something that you eat. Everything that is possible to eat is called an edible, something edible. Edible, something you can eat. Edible. So everything that's on there is either edible or something you can eat or something you can drink. Now, this chapter of the book, it talks about how to count things and how to express yourself when you talk about how much food you're going to eat. Sometimes you use how much, sometimes you use how many. Let's get started with some of the items on that table there. I'm going to tell you the item and you tell me how much or how many. I don't really like my chances with this group because people haven't really been typing in a chat box. But let's try this. Carrots, how much or how many? How many carrots? How many carrots do you see? I see maybe 4 carrots. How many? Why do we use how many for carrots? Usually how many is for things that you can count. For example, here in my hand, I have 3 toys. How many toys am I holding in my hands? 1, 2, 3. So you can count. When you can count things, you say, how many? Let's look at what's on that. You see all the delicious stuff, edible stuff on there? I believe some of you may recognize that there is a bottle of oil, olive oil in the back there. So I can count the bottles. How many bottles of olive oil do you see in that picture? I see 1 bottle. So I'm not counting the oil, the liquid. I am counting the amount of bottles that I see. How many bottles? If I refer to the oil itself, then I have to change that. How much oil? How much oil do you put on your food? So how many carrots? How much oil? How much water? How much juice? How much beer? How much coffee? How much rice? You might say to me, hey, Pollyanna, why can't I count the rice? If I want to, I can go 1, 2. Well, you're not. Rice is non-count. You're counting grains of rice. 1 grain of rice, 2 grains of rice, and I don't know that anybody wants to do that. They usually would say, how much rice would you like? I would like 2 spoons full of rice. Nobody's going to say, hey, can you count 50 grains of rice and put it in my plate, please? So how much rice? How much water? How much milk, right? So when you count the liquid itself or the grains, very small, you use how much, because you're not going to say 1 grain, to, I mean, you can if you're crazy. Hey, I'm coming for dinner tonight. I'm coming to your house for dinner. Please give me 17,000 grains of rice. Or would you say, I would like some rice, just a little bit, a small portion of rice. So how much rice do you want? How much milk do you drink every day? How much coffee do you drink every day? So there are 2 ways to approach this. You can ask someone, how many cups of coffee do you drink a day? Or how much coffee do you drink a day? But see, how many cups of coffee? You're counting the cups. You're not counting the coffee itself. How much coffee? Then you're counting the liquid. How much coffee? So let's go with everything that's on that table. Fish. That's an interesting one because you're probably thinking you can say how many fish or how much fish. Yes, you absolutely can. But the difference is in context. Sammanhang. For example, there is a big fish that somebody cooked somehow, and that one big fish is going to feed the entire family sitting at the table. So I'm going to ask people sitting at the table, how much fish do you want? How many pieces of fish do you want? How many slices, if you want to slice the fish? I don't know if you can do it. Can you do it? But then you can count the slices of fish. You can count the pieces of fish because there's only one big fish for everybody. So you will say, how much fish would you like? And then when you explain how much fish you want, you can say, I would like a small piece of fish. I would like 2 pieces of fish. So you can count the pieces, you can count the slices, but you can't count the fish itself. So how much fish? How many pieces of fish? Pineapple. Again, when you have one big fruit like a pineapple, how many pineapples do you want? Or how many pineapples would you like? Which is the most polite way to ask that? How much pineapple would you like? I would like just a little bit because there's only one pineapple. If you come to someone's house and they have 300 pineapples at a party, if it's a luau or a theme party like a tropical party, and they're serving a lot of tropical fruits, and there are 300 pineapples, then you can say, how many pineapples would you like? I would like 3 pineapples, please. And then you take 1, 2, 3, and then you can count the pineapples. But if you say how much, it refers to one item, and you're going to cut that item into small pieces, or you're going to slice it, whatever you're going to do. So how many pineapples would you like, right? It's a count noun. Apples, how much or how many? If you said how many apples would you like, very good. But if there's only one apple, how many pieces would you like? I want 1 piece of that apple. Next, do you recognize the rest that's on there? Tomatoes. Remember, you can say tomatoes, or you can say tomatoes or tomatoes. Both pronunciations are right. It depends on what you prefer. How many tomatoes would you like in your salad? I would like 5 tomatoes. I love tomatoes. Lettuce and tomato salad is my favorite type of salad. So how many tomatoes? And I believe there's some cereal on there. What happens with cereal, again, you're not going to count, you will probably say, you will count a portion. I would like a bowl of cereal. I would like just a little bit, or a bowl of cereal. So it's how much cereal would you like? Or if you want to count, then how many bowls of cereal would you like? Now here we have at the very top of the page, I'm going to try to take a better picture of it. And at this time, I must say that I do love technology and being able to do this. I'm happy that I'm able to do my job from home, and I'm thankful. I'm extremely grateful to being able to do it. Okay, so here I am going to upload the pictures straight into this program, Webcam Max. In case you're wondering, Webcam Max is the program I'm using to put these pictures on the screen for you to make sure that you can see everything and participate in this class. And it's an old program. It's not anything special or state-of-the-art or anything. It's an old program that I've had since 2009. But it's very effective, and it has been serving its purpose. So now I'm going to rotate the picture and show it to you, and we'll be able to... We have a visitor today observing this class. You're welcome today, Lisbeth. And I hope you're following everything. Here we go. So here we have the page, the exact page that you have on the book. So you have 2 groups with a lot of edible items. Remember the word edible. Everything that's edible is what you can eat. When you go into the forest, here in Norway, I know that people like going into the woods to pick berries. Some berries are edible, meaning you can eat those berries and you can continue to live. But some berries are poisonous. They're not edible, so you shouldn't eat them. So let's take a look at all of these items. This is what the exercise proposes. Look at the nouns in the boxes. Which group can you count? Which can't you count? Label the nouns countable and uncountable. Let's take a look at the first box. Apples. Can you count apples? 1, 2, 3 apples, 4 apples. Is that possible? Now let's go to the other box and take a look at some of the items. Meat. Orange juice. Remember what I told you a few minutes ago. One of the boxes is of countable nouns, and the other box is of uncountable nouns. Which one is which? If you said the first box with apples, carrots, vegetables, grapes, prawns, calories. Actually, calories are, how do you even explain calories? They're units of energy in everything that you eat. and something that you can burn in order to be fit, right? So those are countable. So the first box, countable. The second box, meat, fish, orange juice, coffee, tea, fruit, alcohol, broccoli. And I'm sure somebody's sitting there thinking, hey, Pollyanna, they're probably wondering, wanting to ask me, but maybe not really wanting to tell me. I go to a coffee shop sometimes and I say, can I have a coffee, please? Yeah, I'm sure you do. And is that wrong? Grammatically, yes, it's wrong. But linguistically, it's correct. And what I mean by that is that linguistically is everything that you say that people understand is linguistically correct. So even if you make a grammatical mistake, but you use the correct way of communicating and people understand what you mean, it's correct linguistically. But grammatically, academically speaking, certain things are correct and others are not. So it is grammatically incorrect to say a coffee. It is linguistically correct. Why? Because if you go somewhere, if you go to a coffee shop and say, hey, can I have a coffee? They will give you coffee. Okay, so countable. Apples, carrots, vegetables, grapes, prawns, calories. And the other box is of uncountable. Uncountable nouns. Let me see if I can put this here. Yes. So countable, uncountable. And when we started talking about this, when I just showed you the picture, I talked about using how much, how many. Use how much for everything that's uncountable. Use how many for everything that's countable. And of course, if you go to the United States, if you go to the United Kingdom, and you go into a coffee shop and you say, hey, can I have a coffee, please? They will give you a cup of coffee. So linguistically, it is correct because you went in, you ordered a cup of coffee, and you got what you wanted. You promoted communication. So everything that promotes communication is linguistically correct. And everything that is academically right, that follows the rules of grammar, is grammatically correct. I teach my students everything that's grammatically correct. And of course, if they want to know if something is linguistically correct, I might tell them, but they're not going to be advised to use that in an academic setting. Okay, now open your books to page 31, exercise 3. It's a listening passage.
Unit 4, Tape Script 4.1. Questions about the diet. 1.
Today, we're talking to a couple who are following the calorie restriction diet. So, my first question is, do you eat any meat?
No, we don't eat any meat at all, but we eat some fish.
2. How much fish do you eat?
We eat a little white fish, but we love shellfish, so we eat a lot of prawns.
3. Do you eat much fruit?
Oh yes, we eat a lot of fresh fruit. apples and grapes, but everything.
4. And do you eat many vegetables?
Yes, of course. We eat lots of raw vegetables.
5.
Don't you cook any vegetables at all?
We cook some. Sometimes we steam a few carrots and a little broccoli.
6.
And what do you drink?
Well, we don't drink any tea or coffee, and naturally there's no alcohol in our diet, but we do drink a lot of orange juice.
7.
How many calories do you have every day?
About 1,500.
That's about 1,000 fewer than most people.
Take
Okay, so now let's look at the answers for each of the exercises there. Those of you who have the book, at the very end of the book, you will find all the tape scripts. But right now, let's go over the answers. Number 1, do you eat any meat? No, we don't eat any meat at all, but we eat some fish. So here you have the use of some or any. We don't eat any meat. So any is used in sentences in the negative form. We don't eat any vegetables. We don't eat any ice cream. In the negative form, any. But we eat some fish. We eat some fish. So that's an affirmative sentence. We eat some fish. Number 2, how much fish do you eat? So how much fish? Remember when I was explaining to you how much fish? You take one fish and you divide it. A little bit for Sarah, a little bit for Jack, a little bit for Mary, a little bit for Charlie. So you divide, how much fish do you eat? How much fish do you eat? We eat a little white fish. Not too much, just a little. But we love shellfish, so we eat a lot of prawns. Räcker. Prawns. Do you eat much fruit? Oh yes, we eat a lot of fresh fruit. Apples and grapes, everything. And do you eat many vegetables? Again, vegetables, 1, 2, 3, 4, many. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you use many. When you cannot count, you use much. Do you eat many vegetables? Yes, of course, we eat lots of raw vegetables. Remember the pronunciation, vegetables, vegetables, vegetables. I know that people get a little bit confused because their entire lives they've seen the word table, and then they see a word that has that word in it, and they feel like they want to say table in that too, but you don't. Vegetables. Number 5, don't you cook any vegetables at all? We cook some. So any vegetables. Don't you cook any vegetables? So we use any because it's a question. Usually in questions and in negative sentences, we use any. Questions and negative sentences. In affirmative sentences, we use some. And you'll see in the very example there, number 5, we cook some. Sometimes we steam a few carrots and a little broccoli. And what do you drink? Well, we don't drink any tea or coffee, again, any tea, any coffee, because it's a negative sentence. We don't drink any tea or coffee. And naturally, there is no alcohol in our diet. But we do drink a lot of orange juice. Number 7, how many calories do you have every day? About 1,500. That's about 1,000 fewer than most people. So fewer calories. They don't eat as much as other people. They eat less than other people. Fewer calories. Now I would like you to go up to where it says grammar spot. Grammar spot. It's that blue box on the top, the very top of the page. I'm just putting a picture in there. I'm recording everything live. I don't do a lot of takes. I don't record a lot of takes. I do this in one go. I sit here and I teach the entire class. I know that a lot of people edit their stuff. They record several times. Like, oh no, I made a mistake. Let me start again. I don't. I do it in one go. If something goes wrong, then I have to start from the beginning. But I prefer to do it this way because it's a natural process of teaching. I've been teaching for 30 years and I have. There are ways in which I do things. So still on the same page, the grammar spot is the blue box on the top. This book has a lot of grammar spots. Every chapter has a grammar spot. Of course, the focus of this course is not just grammar and vocabulary, but it is also conversation and communication. Of course, the past few weeks, we've had a lot of classes in a very traditional sense of I have been speaking more than you have. But as soon as the next course starts, like I said at the beginning of this class, we will have 45 minutes of explanations, grammar, vocabulary, text, listening, and the 45 minutes which are going to be in a conference with everybody together. Everyone will speak and it will be more interactive. All the links will be private and I will not make those videos available publicly. So only people who are signed up for the course will be able to participate. At this point, everything is out in the open because it was an emergency measure that we took to make sure that we could reach everybody. But as soon as we start the next course of studies, it will be different. Only people who are registered for the course will be able to see the videos from this point on when we start over. And I can't tell you exactly when. We need between 4 and 6 people to start a course. So it all depends on when we have the amount of people, and then you'll get a call from Gisela or an email. There we go. Grammar spot. Look at the expressions of quantity. The word quantity means mängde in our region. Quantity or quantity. A, B, and C. Which group go with plural count nouns? Which go with uncount nouns? Which go with both? Let's take a look. How much? Not much. A little. I'll give you some examples and you can then make up your mind. Let me see if you can see better this way. I believe you probably can see more now. I'm going to put myself maybe here on top of this page. There we go. So I'm not covering the text, so you can see what's on there. All right. Remember everything that we talked about at the beginning of this class. How much coffee would you like? How much sand is there at the beach? How much rice would you like to eat? Oh, not much rice for me, thank you. I would just want a little bit, just a little rice. So the examples I gave you, rice, sand, coffee. So we have liquid. I started with a liquid, which is coffee. How much coffee? Not much coffee. I also explained to you that linguistically, it is correct to say, how many coffees would you like? I'd like 2 coffees, please. But grammatically, it is not correct because coffee is a liquid and you don't count liquids. So letter A, how much, not much, and a little only go with plural non-count nouns. Plural non-count nouns. Okay, I'm having some technical difficulties and I may have to stop this broadcast and start a new video. Let's see how it's gonna go. Or I'll just power through. B, how many, not many, a few. How many carrots would you like to eat? I would like to eat 5 carrots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carrots, so I can count the carrots. Not many carrots for me, please. How many tomatoes would you like in your salad? Not many tomatoes for me, please. So that's also something to think about when you think about things that you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, when you can count. When you can count, then we use how many, not many, a few. I would like a few tomatoes. I would like to work a few hours a day. I will be home in a few minutes. So you can count 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Letter C, some, any, not any, no, a lot of, lots of. Everything that's in group C, you can use with both count and non-count nouns. Some hours. Do you work any hours on Saturdays and Sundays? Do you have any milk in your fridge? Do you have any tomatoes in your fridge? So all of those are correct. You can use those with plural count nouns and also with plural non-count nouns. Just wait a few minutes for me to, a few seconds. I'm going to put a new link. You will see a new link in the chat box. Follow that link. Follow that link. Follow that link and then you will be able to go straight to the next video. Follow that link. I'm just allowing a few minutes for a few moments for people to follow the link. And I'll be in the next, I'll be there